thank you, everyone, and thanks to Jeff for having me here. As evident today and by the conversations that we've seen, social media really has revolutionized the way that we do business and as consumers, how we interact with brands. I think it was this morning Rohit was talking about how we're at kind of a crossroads. I think people are being bombarded with marketing messages. So as people who are practitioners in social media, how do we break through that? How do we build trust among consumers? How do we build meaningful relationships? So I'm here at BrandsConf as somebody who does this, for their job, that represents several brands on social media, but also as a person that engages with brands on social media, whether it be JetBlue or some of the other ones you've heard from today. In the case of Discovery Communications, you may be familiar with some of our TV networks and shows, things like Discovery Channel's Gold Rush or TLC's Cake Boss or the Animal Planet Network, Investigation Discovery. And at Discovery, we use social media to engage in real time with our audience and our viewers year-round. And that's much different from the picture that you see here. There was a time where you sat in a living room, you sat next to people, you discussed the show you were watching, and that was your social TV experience. But that's something that's really changed over the years. It probably looks a little more like this. So picking up on what Jeff was talking about, how many people in the audience when you're watching TV at night have a laptop on your lap, an iPad, a tablet, iPhone? Yeah, you guys are actually above the average. Pew just released a survey the other day. I think it's about 10% of the US audience has a tablet device. And if you look at some Nielsen research of people that have tablet devices, they spend about 30% of the time on that tablet in front of the television. So as somebody who works with a media company, how do we take advantage of that behavior? How do we create a social TV experience? And that's what I'm kind of here to talk about today. So I thought I would, just take the word social and break it down as it relates to social TV. I think a lot of the things that I'll talk about will translate to your brands as well. I think first and foremost, social TV is about being a shared experience. Viewers are inviting us into their homes when they're watching our television networks, but they're also inviting us to connect with them online. And so how do we offer value to those viewers? And how do we be a participant, not deliver a marketing message, but actually listen to what they have to say? I think I was speaking with Gio last night about our goals at Discovery and what we try to achieve with social media. And we actually have 4 primary goals. Obviously, one of them is driving tune into our networks. That's, important to the success of our business. Driving traffic to our websites, but also gaining insights about our viewers, things that we can use to influence our social strategy, but also share across our company. But the first goal, before we can achieve any of that, is building community with those fans. So what we like to say at Discovery, we have a team of 11 people that work across our various networks and shows, is before I post a message to Facebook, before I tweet something, before I create a user-generated experience, ask myself, would I click on that? Would I want to share that? Would I be compelled to share that? And that's kind of the litmus test that we use. We want to make sure that we're sharing in the experience. We're not talking to our audience, but we're actually engaging with them. And that we're also creating content that we ourselves would like to share, that as a viewer, as a consumer, putting our selves in their shoes would appreciate. The next word is a little scary for businesses, opportunistic. It has a very negative connotation when you talk about businesses especially. But for social TV and for social media in general, it means being strategic and consistently engaged. An example of how we do that at Discovery is there are social TV platforms like GetGlue that allow you to check in to watching a TV show or a movie. And our viewers are doing that already. So how do we offer them additional value? In the case of gamification, we offer stickers. And when people check in and we have stickers available for certain shows, that actually amplifies the buzz we see on Facebook and Twitter when people are checking into our shows. So that's a very strategic way of looking at social media, but it's also very additive because it's something that our fans like, and they love to see displayed on their profile a picture of a badge that has Man vs. Wild on it and urine drinking. I mean, who wouldn't want that on their social profile? Additionally, we're tuned into the world around us. So in the case of Discovery, we have real-world personalities, and these people are experts. So, a great example was back in April, we had some, really devastating storms that passed through the South, and one of our shows on Discovery Channel is Storm Chasers. So we were actually able to leverage the live coverage that they were doing and the warnings that they were providing for people, amplify that messaging, but also take from our stores the tips we have about, the 15 things you need to do if a tornado is coming in your direction, things like that. So we're actually able to be complementary and additive there. And it wasn't necessarily tied to promotion of a show or getting people to tune into something that night. The third thing we'll look at is being complementary, and this is the third, but probably the most important. We're talking about social TV. We're competing with so many other stimuli around us. How do we find something that's actually additive to a viewer? So in our case, it's offering value, and in the case of social TV, that's usually complementary content. That could be anything from a sneak peek of an upcoming show to the ability to jump on Facebook where one of our talent has taken over a page and connect with them throughout the day, or maybe one of our stars live tweeting a show and offering kind of their insight into what that experience was like behind the scenes. We've also seen the rise of what you saw in the earlier picture, co-viewing applications. So people are taking their iPad and they're not just looking at a Twitter stream and a hashtag for a show, but we're meshing that with complementary content. So if it's Shark Week, it's Shark Week Live, and we're offering factoids, we're offering photos, behind the scenes information. In the case of Shark Week Live, we actually took user-generated photos that people sent us and included those in the application. So as people were tuning in live, they were seeing a reflection of themselves and how they view our brand and how they engage with our brand. And the concept of being complementary, I think, extends beyond TV. And I would encourage you to ask yourself, what's your value proposition? How are you being complementary to the rest of your business with social media? I think a lot of times social media is viewed as a channel, to push out a marketing message or to essentially extend an existing part of the business. But how are you actually completing that circle, completing that experience for your fan? It could be everything from, customer service to education. And I think having a direct line to your consumers, something most of us didn't envision several years ago, is a really powerful proposition. I think we need to use that very wisely. Finally, I'll talk a little bit about being inclusive. And in this case, I think what we're talking about is the fact that social media opens the playing field. It allows us to connect with people in a way that we never could before. It breaks down barriers. It's great having Justin Bieber tweet about Shark Week, but I would argue that the best interactions that we have are the one-on-one interactions with the fans, where they're asking a question, asking, when is a show going to re-air? Or I'm having difficulty with my signal. For some reason, this isn't on my schedule. Things like that are really what I think create brand ambassadors and what are meaningful in the long run. But I also would advise, when thinking about the word inclusive, think about the types of content that you respond to and that you engage with. Don't ignore the negative. I think that was something that was touched upon before. I think oftentimes when we engage with people, whether or not we can give them the right answer or give them a full answer, engaging with people who maybe have a negative impression of your brand or a concern, that actually goes further than engaging with the people who are already your brand ambassadors, and you can win over hearts and minds. The next piece would be accessible. I think in our case, it means being available across various platforms and understanding that your audiences want different things. A viewer of Mythbusters is perfectly happy to connect on Twitter, and that's a sweet place for them. But perhaps you have a viewer of Deadliest Catch on Facebook, or perhaps our website, and having a social experience there is more comfortable. Another example has been, in the case of science, we have a show called Idiot Abroad that features Ricky Gervais and Carl Pilkington. And that lends itself perfectly to Twitter. It's some great quips, great comedy coming from them, and that's perfect in 140 characters. But by contrast, you'll take a network like Investigation Discovery and a show like Disappear that deals with real-life stories of people whose family members have gone, who have gone missing. And trying to capture that or connect with a family member dealing with that on Twitter, probably not the most appropriate. Finally, I'll just say, listen. I think listening is the thing that we need to start with here, and I think when you do that and when you engage after that, you'll be able to do a lot for your business, and you can ensure that your social media is conveying that your brands are living and real and not masking that. Thank you.